Action! There we go. There we go. Or what do directors? They say action. They go action. There we go. It's action. It started.
Welcome to Waffle Toffle.
Waffle Toffle for March on the 31st of March with about 4 hours of the month left, but we're here. We've made it.
Yeah, we were running out of time, but then the droves of people that watch Waffle Toffle were messaging saying it's nearly the end of the month and you haven't uploaded anything.
It was like a bombardment, wasn't it? All the people getting in touch, and we were like, "Oh God, there's so many of you. There's so many. Calm down, guys.
Probably do something." Yeah.
But here we are, and we can't, of course, start Waffle Toffle without our theme tune.
It's Waffle Toffle with Minnie and Tom. We're waffling and we're toffling all night long. I've got some tea and I've got some notes. Tom's got some headphones and probably some jokes. The apples are ripe, the plums are red, the broad beans are sleeping in a blankety bed.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. I think that could be the official version with those lyrics in. I just think it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. How art thou?
Well, at the same time, but I'm all right, thank you. I'm good. We were talking about collaborations last episode, and I've spent 2 weeks of this month in Liverpool collaborating on something, and it's been really nice because we were just literally staying at my friend Sean's house for 2 weeks, just working on this show we were putting on, and it was kind of really intense and really like every day rehearsing, and some days were like 14-hour days of rehearsing and writing and editing stuff, and that. It was really busy and really intense, but it was lovely to do like a residency. That's what people call it, a residency. I've never really done that before. I don't know whether you have, but it was really cool and really exciting, and it kind of was really invigorating working with other artists. So I'm feeling good at the moment. Yeah.
I've had very rare moments in my artistic career where obviously life still goes on around it, but when you are somewhere and that is all you are doing in that time. So like Edinburgh Fringe would be an example of that. We were just doing that show every day, recording with the company players. We went away to like write for a week. I've not had many experiences of that, so I love that when that is your number one focus. It's not like, oh, I'm dashing to do this one-off gig after work, or I'm dashing to do this thing. It's like that is the whole focus. That is like the dream. It's a little insight, like a peek behind the curtain of what it's like for people who are full-time creatives, I guess. Yeah, I love that. I'm so glad it went well for you. I saw a little bit of stuff that was shared online, and it certainly looks like a different project than I've seen you do before. So yeah, I'm interested to see what further unfolds.
It was very out of my comfort zone. There was choreographed dance moves. There was songs in the production. I didn't really sing. It was very much pub singing from most of us because we can't sing, but that was part of the charm. And there was acting. I've not acted on stage probably since the GCSE drama. So really exciting to do different stuff and kind of push yourself out your comfort zone. And it was great. It was good fun. So yes, more good collaborations. I'm really happy about that. How are you doing? How's Minnie?
Yeah, really good. I am feeling like a lot of people are a little bit rejuvenated by just seeing some sunshine. I went for a walk the other day and I saw newly born lambs and lots of flowers popping up, some bluebells in some of the foresty bits, and it just does make you go like, I can do this. And I've been slowly catching up with things. I've been doing like a spring clean of like my house and my inboxes. I've still not got back to a few people on things. I really want to like pay off my overdraft in the sense of, well, I would quite like to do that in my bank as well, but pay off my overdraft of like chasing my tail so that I can just come at things a bit better. But I am feeling, I got a bit frozen. I got so behind that I got a bit like stuck almost. Whereas now I'm like, no, done is better than perfect. Get the things done, get the overdraft of life paid off, and then you've got a bit more of a level playing field. And I don't want to complain because there will come a day where people stop asking me to do stuff or dropping into my inbox or chasing that they haven't heard back from me because they're keen to hear back from me. So I definitely don't want to complain about it. I just would rather get a bit more on top of things. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Spring cleaning, new year, new me kind of vibes over here.
I think it's a tricky thing, well, one of many tricky things about a creative career is that even if you're taking the day off, that day off usually includes catching up on emails or applying for gigs or looking into venues or thinking I should do some writing or thinking, oh, I've got a day off, I have to make sure I start working on this project. Like, it's very hard to ever stop and ever go, right, I've done it all now, I can have a day not doing it, because your brain's always going, actually, if I've got a day, I need to finish writing that song or writing that joke or applying for that gig or doing whatever. So it's tricky, because it's a thing where, like, if you had a week off next week, you'd be going, okay, it's my week off, but what I have to do is spend a few days working in terms of, you know, gig admin or music admin or life admin. Then you spend more time doing spring cleaning, and then that's your week gone. Like, it's tricky.
Yeah, it is. We all need to, like, collectively remember to, like, slow down, don't we? And, like, be more in the moment, because I think we talk about it from a, like, trying to do, well, I talk about it like trying to do a job alongside music, trying to do normal life alongside, like, comedy. But I think it's just for everyone, isn't it? Like, everyone has something on their plates normally alongside work. So it's like trying to, like, look after parents that need care alongside work, trying to look after children alongside work, trying to just do your hobby of going running alongside work. And those things are, like, joys and a pleasure to do, like to have children to look after or to have a hobby of running. Or there might be things in your life that are challenging, like needing to look after unwell family members or something. Like, it does feel like so many people have stuff that it's not just like creative people, that when you say to somebody, when did you last sort of do nothing, but not in a, like, staring into the abyss, doom scrolling because you're absolutely frozen with, I don't know where to begin with how much stuff I've got to do, but just gloriously, beautifully nothing. And I just feel so fortunate when the weather's like this and you decide to go out for walks. That's a thing that I, like, get really drawn to do in this weather, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing nothing. Like, this is purely for me. I'm just enjoying nature on a walk. This is just the nothing. And I wish more people could wiggle that into their lives. The nothing. It's important.
Yeah, I think it's very important. That's our little life advice for this episode is go for a little walk in the sunshine. You know, try and do nothing for a bit, because life's intense. You know.
Yeah, and quite often we will get on to talking about what we're going to talk about, but quite often you'll say to somebody, oh, what did you do at the weekend? And they'll say, oh, nothing. And nothing actually means, like, 500 million things of, like, life stuff, but it doesn't feel like an activity. It just feels like admin of life that they're doing. But when did they last do glorious nothing? Not nothing, glorious nothing.
Glorious nothing.
Strolling about nothing, drinking a cup of tea, sitting on a park bench, nothing. That's what we're looking for, people. Tea is always a good idea.
Tea.
But we're going to talk about...
Imagine if we just, for the rest of this chat, just drank tea, and that's all we did. We just went, we're just going to drink tea for the next 20 minutes.
We're going to talk about touring, aren't we?
Yes, we are going to talk about touring. That's the theme, the topic, the thing for this episode is touring, and Minnie's doing, I don't know what you were doing there, but there we go.
I just picked something over that was under my table. And we're going to do questions, aren't we, for each other?
Yes.
And we've only got 3 questions each, although I guess that might turn into us answering them both, and we're going to try to keep it short, not short and sweet. We're already 10 minutes in, and I've just told people to go and sniff the baby lambs.
Hold on, what? You never said sniff the lambs, did you? What?
It's implied, Tom. If you're on a walk and you're fortunate enough to see a baby lamb, it's implied that you should go over and give one a sniff. No, I wouldn't. The mums will come for you. Keep at a safe distance. Don't disturb them. Don't make them anxious. There could be other pregnant ewes still in those fields, so be respectful at all times.
Okay.
Would you like me to ask you a question about touring?
Yeah, I think that leads nicely into touring, the idea of sniffing a baby lamb.
So, Tom, my first question for you on touring is kind of any top tips you have or thoughts you have around the cost of touring, because in the musician world, it's a really big thing. You may have heard Kate Nash is selling pictures of her bum to fund her tour on OnlyFans, and there's, like, a lot of conversations. I think with musicians, there's a lot of paying other musicians the right amount of money to be there as well. And I know your projects aren't always collaborative because you're a solo person. And I just wondered if the comedy world is having the same issues as the music world, what your thoughts are about it, and if it is sometimes that you can't play gigs or you can't do particular tours because like you literally cannot afford to do it. So that's kind of more than one question, sorry, but you get the gist. Cost of touring, talk to me about it.
Well, it's, I suppose ultimately when you're just a solo stand-up, there's maybe less costs of touring compared to if it's like in a band or in a comedy sketch group. So it can sometimes make it a little bit easier to not lose money on tours because you're only paying one person, you're paying yourself. You know, I know obviously you might have a if you're a bigger name, they'd have a support act perhaps or a tour manager, but generally from my levels of tours, it'd be me booking in a gig, me paying for travel, me doing a gig, etc., etc. But it is tricky. It is hard to make money from tours. I think especially now that it feels like the travel to go places is going up and up and up, and accommodation if you're staying over is going up and up and up. But ticket prices, you don't want to put them up and up and up because people can't afford to go out as much. So you have this really strange balance where, you know, everything is going up apart from ticket prices, and then that's apart from what you earn as an artist is not going up. But then your travel's more expensive, your accommodation's more expensive, your food, even your meal deal's gone up. Even the meal deal's like £4 now. I don't know how that happened. It's just £3. It should be £3. Even with my Nexa card, it's £3.50. Furious. But you know what I mean? It's all going up. But whereas you can't put your tickets up too much because you don't want to price people out. Especially, obviously, my brand of comedy is very much aimed at people who don't have money, and so that means it's probably even harder for me to get an audience who can regularly come and make it profitable. And so it is tricky to make money. There have been a few gigs I've done that have been in other places where you break even and you see that as a win because you go, well, I did my show and I broke even because it was looking like I wouldn't break even. And so it is difficult. And I think a lot of comedians probably do smaller tours for that reason. You know, sometimes comedians would do 5 dates because realistically, that's all they think they can sell. That's all they think they can make money on. And so I definitely think there have been times where, you know, there are gigs I would be less, I wouldn't jump on straight away if it's really far away or something, because you would go, okay, well, I'm going to have to sell £200 worth of tickets just to cover my travel. And that's a lot to basically earn nothing. Like I've done it before where someone said, oh, do you want to do a gig in Manchester? It's 150 quid. And you go, oh, 150 quid, that's great. But then when you work it out, you've paid 80 quid on the train. You've maybe got yourself a meal deal for £3, that's 83 quid. And then that's hoping you can get back on the same day. And luckily from Manchester, you sometimes can. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, this is delving into something completely a completely different question, but I've done the thing before where I've not been able to afford to get back, and so I've slept on the bench, or I have slept in an A&E just because I had nowhere to go, and I had to go, look, I want to sleep here. I can't afford my accommodation. I'm going to sleep here. And I think a lot of solo performers probably have done that. Obviously, much easier for me to do as a man, just because it's less likely that someone will be a creep to me. Probably still not recommended, and probably I'm still very glad that my parents aren't on my Patreon because they'd go, Thomas, what are you doing? I can't believe you did that. It's fine. I didn't die. I'm alive. I'm back. It was years ago. But do you know what I mean? Like I think there is with chasing the dream in the arts, there's lots of things where you do risk money, or you risk all sorts of things just because you think, oh, that's what I have to do. And that's a long-winded way of saying, yes, comedians are struggling to make money as well, and touring is difficult because audiences have no money, so it all adds into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And quite sad to hear you say about having to stay in places like that. And it makes me realise in the music community, and I'm sure it is similar in comedy as well, one thing that has really, even pre-COVID times, so I think still post-COVID, I know it's a bit different for me because I took extended time out, but I still don't quite feel that same thing of it being particularly easy to book shows. And even attending as an audience member, I go to some nights that used to be busy before and they're not. And I think that we haven't kind of got back up from sort of COVID-y times, and now we're being hit again with kind of like cost of living stuff. You know, I think what happened with COVID stuff that did really impact people buying tickets in advance and people maybe more buying on the day. And that means people are sometimes cancelling shows that aren't viable, but they might have been viable because actually so many people buy things last minute. But yeah, what I was thinking is house concerts is a really big thing in music, particularly in the genre that I make. And it's just incredible because sometimes people will pay you to go and play at their house. But even if they don't pay you, they'll put you up for the night, they'll feed you. And then the kind of people that they've got coming to a house concert are like CD buying, mailing list sign up people. So it's always really worthwhile. And it's just people that just love music and will do it just for the sheer love of it. Like one of my favorite house concerts was to go and play for a friend of mine called Marcus. And I say a friend of mine because he's a friend of mine now, but I know him through music. And yeah, gosh, he'd pay you to go there. He'd cook you dinner and he'd invite like music-minded friends that he'd made along the way. And I guess like he would get to know people a little bit and then start to invite them in because this was his home. And his home is lovely, but it's by no means like, oh, he can fit 50,000 people in and he's got like some grand stage set up. Like he's got like a modest kind of living room that he just would squidge everyone into. And it was just like the loveliest feeling. And I think house concerts have been like a savior for me when I've been touring. And I would love to like find more of those and do more of those again. And people will put you up as well. I played at in Sheffield once at Cafe Number 9, and they just said, oh, if you don't have anywhere to stay, there's this I'm rubbish that I forget their names, but that is my brain. There's this couple who come to the gigs regularly. They always offer to put up artists, and I've never met them before. And I suppose like you were saying, like you're on your own, it can be a bit whatever, and they were just amazing, like put us up, gave us breakfast. That's really on when I've gigged around Germany, that is just, even when you're organizing gigs, it's just a given. The promoter's like, we've sorted you somewhere to stay. It's just like a given. Like, so house concerts and people, music fans who will put up musicians. And I will say I've only had like two hairy experiences with that kind of thing. Other than that, mostly depending on the kindness of strangers, has like worked out really well with touring. But yeah, so
I mean, it's that thing where I think as an artist, it's kind of unavoidable. You'll have some hairy situations. You know, I think I've had the same, and it's just that thing where you just kind of go like, "All right, I'll avoid that person." Do you know what I mean? Because some people, there's always going to be weirdos. I will say that I did gig in Belfast last week, and it was lovely. The people who ran it was lovely. They got me a good rate at a hotel, and the hotel had like all the rooms were named after like famous Northern Irish writers and stuff like that, and poets and that. And so it was all like a really lovely artist retreat. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. It was so exciting. I loved it.
That'll sound cool.
Well, let's links to your question, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. My first question, what is your favourite ever venue and why?
I don't know. Can I?
You can do a favourite few venues, maybe, if that makes it easier.
Yeah, I find it hard because I've got favourites for like different reasons. So I played at I think it's called the Gordon Craig Theatre in Stevenage when I opened for Joan Armour Trading. So that is not a typical venue I would play. And whenever I did opened for her a few times and recently opened for Frank Turner. When you get those like opportunities when you're on a big stage, you can't help but feel like those are some of your favorite venues of all time, in the sense of like it's a one-off opportunity and you just feel like you can be your best. Like the sound is on your side. There's a team of people who are paid to make this night run properly. Like even for the support act, like nobody wants that to go wrong. So you don't have to be like, is this mic going to work when I get on stage? Like, is everything turned on? Like when you awkwardly play at pubs and you sort of like, I've started, oh, the sound person hasn't turned my microphone on. Like everything's just perfect. There's a comfortable backstage. You just look out at this sea of people. There's lights. It's all what your like childhood self imagined. So those venues. But then I've also had like such amazing opportunities. Like I played in, my memory again, I forget what he called it, but a musician called Chris TT had this experience where you could go into this, it traveled around different festivals and it was like a box that you sat in. And so I would be just across from you by maybe like a meter or something. You wouldn't know what musician I was going to be, what I was going to sing, what I was going to do. And it's pitch black. You come into the box, you can't see me, you sit in the dark and you just experience. And that was incredible. And when you come out of the box, people, so you maybe do like half hour or so in the box and you just play one song. So you can play the same song a gajillion times or mix up. When you come out, people had left like feedback and so many people had, but like I was brought to tears and you're just like, you could kind of feel it, but you couldn't see them. My eyes did start to adjust to the light a tiny bit, but I don't think that would have happened for the audience because they were coming in to the pitch black each time. They weren't sat there for half an hour. So I started to get like shadows of people. And that has got to be one of my favorite venues that I've ever played. But I slightly digressed on your touring question because those are both very one-off things. They are not venues that I repeatedly visit.
I think it still counts. Yeah. You know, I think of touring as any gig you do outside your hometown is technically your, you know, any gig.
But I'll never play them again. I mean, I like to think I could maybe play the Gordon Craig Theatre. But yeah, I've had so many lovely opportunities. I've played in like a flower shop, bookshops, libraries. I played in like an old gypsy caravan when I was in Germany that was just set up in a car park. On a canal boat, on a steam train. That was amazing.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so I played on this steam train that it was so good. I can't remember where I was. I was in the West Country somewhere. My memory is rubbish, but they had this day for people with, I guess, like different special like educational needs, like different SEN needs, different like mobility or learning needs. And you just went from carriage to carriage as like a wandering minstrel and entertained them. And it was just the most glorious, like mostly children and young people singing along, like totally thrilled to like be on the train. Like the train was like the highlight, I think, and then the musicians are just this extra thing. And that was so lovely because I was like playing on this venue that is like a total one-off, but then also like when your music like is really, really transactional in that way where you feel like you're doing the thing you love, but somebody's genuinely really getting something from it and you can tell it's making their day. Yeah. That was lovely. A bunk fest, I played on a boat. I've played a few insane venues for weddings. So yeah, I'm just going to take up too much time talking about favorite venues. And I haven't even mentioned the standard kind of places that you tick off. Like I always wanted to do like the Green Note in Camden. It's like the place you want to go and play. I always wanted to do the Bluebird in Nashville. Like both of those were like bucket list. Like even like Water Rats, I always wanted to play there. Like the Barfly. Yeah, so many. Oh, this is making me smile from ear to ear. Thinking of lovely venues.
Yeah, that's adorable.
Thank you for asking me that.
That's really lovely.
I should back at you. What are your favourite venues?
Well,
I love my venue in Edinburgh. As hot as it was. Yeah. As hot as it was.
Well, I think and I was just thinking about it as you were talking, the lovely thing about both the stuff that we both do, you know, I either do stand-up where sometimes you don't even need a microphone. You can just walk into a room and do it, or you can do stuff just on, you can just be singing a cappella, or you can just be playing a guitar. So it's not like either of us need necessarily big stages and big setup to make it work. And so because of that, I've had lovely experiences. Like I think in Edinburgh once, I played to it was a mobile cinema from the 1970s, and it had about 16 seats in it, and it was just used to be back in the 70s a van that would drive around and people could sit in and watch a film. But then in Edinburgh, it was just a standalone venue you could go, and it was just a really cool thing to go into, walking to this van and just performing to these people sitting in these cinema seats. It was just really exciting. That was really fun. I think also similar to what you said earlier, the few times I've done gigs in people's houses is always really fun, because in a sense, it's not a gig, but it is a gig. Do you know? It's literally just, there's just 15 people sat on a sofa and I'm stood up talking. But then that's a gig. That becomes a gig. And I just think it's incredible how that becomes a gig just because of the person who's an artist who's there and the people who are the audience. And I really love stuff like that when it's not a designated venue, but it can become a designated venue just by the right circumstances and the right people being there and the right people listening, the right people performing. I think that's really, really cool that, I could go to someone's house and sit in their kitchen and it's suddenly a venue, just like that, just because you've made it into one.
Does it feel slightly to you, to coin a phrase that you see a lot in life, gigs like that to me somehow in the world that we live in feels like an act of rebellion? Do you know what I mean? It feels like a little bit of people power, a little bit of simpleness, a little bit of something that should have got lost to the world that's busy and digital and fun, and it hasn't got lost. I'm here in Marcus's living room singing a song. Like it feels like prohibition. It feels naughty, but also really, really pure. Does that relate in any? Does that resonate with you at all? Or?
Well, yeah, because do you know what? I feel like as society evolves and gets bigger and more expensive and more about technology and stuff, you are told that for it to be a proper gig, it has to be on a stage that is this high and it has to be this many seats and they have to all be full and you have to have this speaker or this stereo and this microphone and you have to get paid this amount and all these kind of nonsense stuff you're told. But then really it's like, no, a gig is just anything where you're performing and people are listening. That's a gig straight away. And so doing something like that is cutting through all that nonsense and going, no, you can do that and it can be a lovely gig, and it's a gig that people will remember because, oh my god, do you remember when that guy came around your house and performed a gig? That's incredible. Like, so I think that stuff is a bit magical, and I always love things like that are a bit quirky. I love a quirky venue in Edinburgh. There's always stuff like that, like the pop-up cinema, or I think one year there was a horse box or something where they could seat like 4 people or something, like a really stupid venue, but it's just a bit of a novelty venue that was like, I did a gig in a horse box. It's just a stupid thing to say. I quite like stuff like that. I like them. But then other venues I like are stuff like, it's the thing where I think you have 2 sides. You love the ones that are a bit quirky, a bit DIY, a bit weird, but you also do love when you're at a proper club or a proper theatre and the first time someone goes, what do you want for your lighting? You're like, my lighting? What? Like, do you know what I mean? And you're like, well, aren't I fancy all of a sudden? You get so excited by that stuff. So I think those venues are also, Soho Theatre and stuff like that is lovely, and Comedy Store and that, because it's, it's that strange thing that maybe people who aren't artists might not think, but it's rarer than you'd think where you actually feel properly looked after. Like I feel, and it still always feels nice when they go, we'll get you a free drink, and you just go, wow, do you know what I mean? That should be every gig, but it still feels like a luxury when that happens. So and any venue where you feel like they look after you as an artist is a winner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are so many amazing venues, but I can also think of the many times that it's not so much not been looked after, is I've more, and this could say a bit about my projecting my own feelings rather than how the venue made me feel, but like that I'm in the way. There's so many music venues that have the unknown local artists, and that's because the owners of the venue or the promoters of the venue, they really want to build that, but actually what generates their income is the cover bands and the function bands. And there can feel like a little bit of an element of like you're kind of in the way almost, or like you're just being, you're not always given that same treatment, and so it is really, really nice when it happens. Oh, touring is just wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, shall I move on to another question for you? Mine was why? Why do you tour? Why?
Because I like to perform in different. I like to see different places. I like that aspect of touring from a very simple point of view. It's nice to go to different cities and to places I otherwise would never have gone. I do like that. I also think I like touring because I feel like you want to reach as many people as possible, and there's only so many people you can reach by sitting in your hometown. I mean, that number's probably less than 100 people in your own hometown. So you want to tour, you want to reach new people, you want to meet different types of people from different backgrounds and different life experiences. And I do like I like the traveling aspect. I like going to different places. I like going that, I've been to Manchester, I've been to Newcastle, I've been to Edinburgh, I've been to Glasgow, I've been to Belfast. And I like to be able to say I've done all those things, just because it feels nice to see the world a bit. You know, I'm not someone who's ever going to be someone who has to tick off every country in the world, blah, blah, blah. But at the very least, I do like going, oh no, I have been in different places and seen how different places work, because everywhere's a little bit different, and that's always quite nice to go, oh, that's how they do it. Okay, we don't do it like that. Or, oh, it's better than what we do. Or I like learning about different cultures, different places, different towns, different cities. And it just makes sense as an artist to perform in different places, because that's how you build an audience, I think. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Why do you tour?
Yeah, all of the reasons that you've said, plus just a little idea that you leave your little songs in all these little pockets of places. But yeah, just to meet people and sing your songs at them. And I think I'm like I'm not of the generation that was just born like bang with social media and here's how to promote yourself online. So I think I always just understood that was the way to share your music. And then it's so just a really nice reminder, like I don't pull massive crowds of people, but when I'm in front of a small venue, like a 50 cap venue, but it can be like full or even half full, if I'm honest, like, and I have that feeling of like sharing music with people. For me now, it really is like a lovely reminder, because I do have moments of like, oh, I've been doing this for years and I haven't really made that momentum that some of my like peers have, and I haven't really got loads of followers online, and I don't get loads of streams. And for me now, like touring is that reminder of like, this is how it feels to have what would look like a handful of people listening to your music, singing sometimes your lyrics, like clapping for what you do, coming to chat to you at the end and saying it meant something to you. So I think I used to, and I still tour for all of the reasons you said. And then now I do it for like my own very stark reminder of like, this is like your actual like why, without sounding really cheesy. This is like why you were doing it in the first place. Like, wouldn't it have been lovely to, you know, get a tour support slot with Alanis Morissette, end up on Jules Holland, which is my current like bucket list dream of things I want to do. Those things are lovely, but this is like why you started, like this is the bit that you really like wanted to do. So touring is like a really nice reminder of what it means to have a small number of people really engage with you. And I think that can sometimes help how my brain sees things like social media or like views on videos that we share or that I share, when I just think actually that if you had that number of people in a room, your mind would be blown. So don't overthink that you might not be doing so well in that online space, because touring reminds you that it is just about sharing your music with people, and sometimes the smaller the better. The kind of music I make, I think, although I do have like big dreams of like Florence and the Machine style stage setting and like all that stuff as well one day, you know.
Yeah, one day next year.
Yeah.
Well, I think what a nice thing actually is about like social media stuff, but sometimes like you can get an audience without that, and I think just as important as your name and your following is how you market a show and how you brand a show. Because if we're thinking about Edinburgh, and there would be people who would come to You're Not Singing Anymore who never would have heard of you and never would have even looked up your music before they came. They would just go, oh, that sounds interesting, I'll go to that. And then that means it doesn't matter how many followers you've got, because they're going to go on the basis of the show list, and it doesn't matter about your. So I always think, often with these things, literally how you brand yourself and your listing and how your tour is branded and stuff is just as important as your social media following, because if you have 1 million followers but you don't know how to write a press release or whatever, then you're probably going to struggle anyway, because you need to be able to get the word out and get people who. It's as much about getting people to buy tickets to see you who've never heard of you as it is about getting people who've heard of you to come along at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My next question is, and it's kind of is about the idea of touring, because I thought of it when I thought of touring, is what's the favourite piece of tour merch you have either bought or made for yourself?
Ooh.
So either bought from someone you've gone to see, or do both. You could do both, but either something you've bought from somebody you've seen, or something you've made and sold to your fans.
That's a very good question. Instantly, what comes to mind, although I didn't buy it because she was giving them away, was my memory. Kimberly Ann was supporting First Aid Kit on tour, and she gave everybody a nice little tea bag, and it had a QR code for one of her songs on the tab, which I thought was very cool. And quite a few musicians that I know or follow have done tea, which is quite cool. That might be a folky thing. Laura Kidd did tapes. She's one of the first people I ever got a tape off of in the like tape resurgence, and that was cool. I really enjoyed that. Trying to think of like merch. I mean, the Streets have the lighter, right? That has just become so synonymous with them, and I think that's a class bit of merch because it's just become such a branded thing. I'm trying to think of other merch that I've got that's unusual in any way. Mostly got the normal posters, t-shirts, hats. I'm trying to think of things that people do. This isn't really merch, but I think this just falls into like just remembering an artist. My friend Laura Denan, she has a song about chocolate, and at the gig she hands out chocolates. So when she's singing the song, you're meant to have like a mindful moment where you eat the chocolate, you put it in your mouth, but you're not allowed to swallow it. You're meant to savor it while she's singing her song about her addiction to chocolate. And that sounds really wacky, but that works as a really good memory for the gig, but you don't get to take that home. Daria Kulesh has a lot of drawn things. But my own merch, a lot of my merch is my dad's artwork, and my favorites were when I played in London at St Pancras Church. He did a special image just of the church for that night, and I thought that was pretty cool that if you came to the gig there was a painting. And then when I toured Germany, he did one of the Colne Cathedral. I think that's quite cool. He does like pictures that are individual to each of my songs, so I think that's pretty cool merch anyway. But those two were like tour merch, like he did those for those tours. I think that's pretty cool merch. And I did do some hand sewing of CD cases.
Oh, I've got one of them somewhere.
Yeah, my first ever EP, and then the 10-year reunion of that was hand sewn. They're not very well sewn, but yeah. Sorry, why am I so long-winded? Waffle.
You're not long-winded at all. That was an absolutely fine, succinct answer that people will have enjoyed.
And if those artists that I mentioned along the way, do check them all out if you don't know of them. Back at you, bro. How did I forget that you had merch of blooming Carlton badges that you handed? Did you like it?
I loved it. I loved that. Yeah, that was it was like he was in the room.
Right, over to you to talk about your merch.
I mean, if anyone wants any of those badges, I think I've still got about 500 of them somewhere. So if Minnie's dance has inspired you to go, I want one of those badges, do drop me a message. My favourite thing of merch, I like it when people do merch that's sort of very specific to things in a show. Like in Edinburgh, I liked the fact that I think a few years ago, a comedian called Angela Barnes did a show about body image and not, really liking how she looked and all that stuff. But then the end of the show, after the show, she gave each audience member a piece of paper, which was like a drawn picture of her and some crayons, and you could colour it in and share it on social media. And I thought that was a lovely idea and really nice and really clever as well, because people will share that on social media. Like, genius marketing and just really original. And I was like, that's a great idea. You've smashed that. So I always remember that. I like bottle openers as a bit of merch, or key rings. Do you know what I mean? They're really clever because then they're practical, similar to mirrors or lighters. It's something people can use. I think that makes sense. It's clever merch, and I like that. I like the fact you give away postcards. They're nice. With your dad's artwork on them and stuff like that. I've always thought that's a very, very sweet and very nice thing, even though I never want to use them because they look nice. And I don't know how many people who are fans of Minnie have used the postcards. I'd love to know. I'm sure most people have, but I always just keep stuff like that because I'm a real hoarder for band merch and stuff like that, because most of it is limited, right? So I'm like, I won't get that again. So it's always in a drawer and it will never get used. But yeah, I do like a badge. I like a badge, especially if it's got a slogan from a show or something. Like, like any show I've seen, when if you enjoy the show, then after the show there's a badge that has like a joke from the show on it or something. I'm all over that. I'm snapping that up, like, and keeping that, because then you find it in 5 years' time and you go, oh yeah, fuck's sake, Shania, that was from that show by Sean, blah blah blah, and it brings you to that moment and all that stuff. So I always like things like that. Things like that. That I don't like merch much if it's too blatantly branded. Like, I wouldn't want a badge that just says Tom Mayhew on it. I'd go, no. I'd rather it was something like the Carlton Banks badge, and someone goes, oh, where's that from? Oh, that's from this comedian show, blah blah blah. Or fuck's sake, Shania, where's that from? Oh, that's from this joke in this show by Shania. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather it was a bit more, I like it when it's a bit more subtle, a bit more like, where could that be from? And then it initiates a conversation. I don't like merch generally, or like t-shirts when it just says, mini merch in it. I'd rather it was a bit more a bit more character to it, like a logo or something like that. I always prefer stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, sorry to interrupt while you're answering, but I think I've realised as well that merch, I wasn't subconsciously ever thinking, I put my name on people and it advertises my name. I don't think I ever consciously thought that, but I have had a shift to, like, I don't really want my name on something. I more want something that people who've enjoyed my music or my show will actually like having. because it might be kind of cool or representative of them. Like with the football badges, I had ones that said "You're not singing anymore" or "I support my local football team." They are about my show. If somebody wants to ask a question, that is about that, but they are just completely separate to me. Something that like you might want to wear that's kind of represents you as a person, like you're a football fan or somebody that supports the underdog or follows local football. Or and I think the only 2 t-shirts I've ever done, one I did a tour t-shirt, but it was kind of because I liked the idea of that halfway through the tour we went into lockdown. So I think they're kind of like a good little memory of that time, because it's got a list of dates and then it just has a blacked out bit that says like the UK goes into lockdown, and then it lists all the live streaming dates. And I just thought that was quite, outside of it being Minnie Birch as a musician, that's a cool music shirt that you might remember, like, oh gosh, yeah, I watched that online, or when we were in lockdown. And then the next one I made, my dad did a really cool picture, and in the design I took the Minnie Birch name off because I thought it actually kind of just looks better without my name underneath it. And I just want people to have something they like. Yeah. Sorry, I slightly interrupted you, but I just was so in agreement with what you were saying, that like, yeah, it's so much nicer to have like something that might spark a conversation, but something that the actual person buying it would really want, rather than them feeling like, ask me about this unknown artist. Like, they're not, it can be good advertising, but I think people who like stuff will talk about stuff anyway. I don't think I've ever seen the name of a band in someone's bag and be like, could you tell me about this band? I've never heard of them before.
Yeah.
They seem to be on your badge. Like,
well, sometimes it just feels very, because I remember the first comedian I ever saw live was Russell Howard, and I think there was a bit of his merch. It was literally just a t-shirt with his name on it, and that was it. And I was just like, that's really lazy as a bit of merch that you've just gone, that'll do. Let's charge 20 quid for a t-shirt with my name on it. I just thought
I'd rather buy a t-shirt with my own name on it.
It just like, it just really.
Why am I wearing that?
I just thought it was so pointless, and I was like, put some effort in. There was some that had jokes on. I was like, good, that makes sense. It references a joke from the show. That's good. But just someone's name in it, I was like, I mean, it wasn't even like an interesting font or anything. It was just his name, and I just went, come on, man, like, really?
You want to feel part of a secret club, not just like Russell Howard, I went to Russell Howard. Like, you want to like something for the joke. Or I think tour t-shirts that might say Russell Howard then on the back have like the venues and the dates. Particularly when I was younger, I blooming loved a band t-shirt that I could wear that was like, yeah, wasn't the London show, bitches? Like, I can see that appeal. But yeah, just a basic shirt with no artwork. Yeah,
it just felt, how can we do a really cheap t-shirt? And oh my god, I've just remembered, there was a comedian last year who did a show at Edinburgh, and it was partly about her being sort of quite young and into hip hop, which kind of explains maybe why this was a bit of merch. But a bit of merch she was selling was a thong with her name on.
Did she shift a few?
I definitely know someone in the queue ahead of me bought one, but I just wonder where that discussion leads. Do you know what I mean? I'm not too sure. It's a unique bit of merch. It's really unique, and it's quite funny going.
Songs, and it's kind of useful as well, right?
Yeah, it's quite a funny thing to do as a bit of merch. So maybe
they're quite like off of the 90s, aren't they, thongs? I mean, I know they still exist, but I guess they are kind of a bit of a time and a place that she was possibly talking about, if it's like old school hip hoppy stuff.
I think maybe a bit like that, yeah. But maybe it's almost just, do you want people on social media to take a picture and go, I bought this from this comedy show? Or I don't really know.
Those sort of pictures possibly do numbers, so maybe. But it's like, do the numbers get you the... Yeah.
It was it's a bold move. Do you know what I mean? You got to respect. I got to respect that. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I've never known anyone else do that. Fair play. Like,
yeah.
Maybe I'll do it next year.
Right, we can't go over an hour because it's against the podcast law. So
it is against podcast law, yeah.
It's against the podcast that we don't follow any other laws, but I've decided that is the law that we're going to follow. So my final question to you was just like, as the final question, could you give me a best tour moment, whether it's like a particular moment with the crowd, particular venue, particular story before or after, particular traveling one, just something. If somebody says, give me a best tour memory, what comes to mind?
Probably I mean, there's a couple either doing shows at Soho Theatre, because that's really an incredible prestigious moment where you feel like, oh, I've made it kind of thing. Like, even though made it is very, careers are up and down. I've not made it, but you feel like, oh, I've made it because I'm here at this venue that I watched comedians at when I was a teenager, and I've done really well and I've sold it out, and it's a really prestigious venue, and so you feel really excited by that. So that was a real incredible thing, and I've done 2 shows there, which is wicked. I've always felt really proud of that. And the other one would be when I was doing a tour show in Preston, and I'd never been to Preston before. I had no idea what it would be like or how well tickets would sell, and I just had a really lovely audience who really got it and were really on board and really cared, and I could feel they cared. Do you know what I mean? I feel they enjoyed it and they cared, and it just meant a lot, because I think I was traveling there not knowing how many tickets I've sold or how well it'd be received, and they were just bloody lovely. They were just so nice and so sweet, and so I just always remember, little groups from that gig, and just how warm they were and how nice they were, and it's meant I've always kind of had a soft spot for Preston, even though it's based literally on one night and one gig, and I could go there again and die on my ass, because that's being an artist. But I've always cherished that, because it just felt really lovely and really nice, and they were lovely. So they're my 2. What are yours?
Oh gosh, so many. I think something that springs to mind that is like outside of the actual gigging bit, but I think it's nice to talk about those weird little in-between moments. And it was Edinburgh, so I guess like Edinburgh is kind of a tour in the same place. And I was so incredibly tired, and John, who was doing guitar for us in Edinburgh, we were walking back after the show. I don't know what number show where we were, but I was tired and gone, and I had like my backpack on. He was carrying all of the everything stuff to get back to the bus, and he started pushing me along because I was so tired. He was literally like pushing me from behind because I was just ready to drop. And then I remember him being like, "Are your eyes open?" And I was like, "No." I was like smiling because I was just so happy to be in Edinburgh that I had done this show, but I was genuinely walking back to get the bus to our campsite, and I was asleep. I was just walking. He was pushing me, and I was holding my rucksack, and I was just like, my eyes were closed. I was sleep, walking, snoozing. I was just gone. But I know that sounds like a weird tour memory, but I think that's just nice. Like, I've spent so much time in life being tired for other stupid stuff, tired for being unwell, tired for being stressed about things, tired because work is hard or whatever. And I was like, I am just properly exhausted to my core because I have just spent countless days now preparing for and then doing this thing that is like such a big bucket list thing for me. And I just, with my eyes closed, slept walked like a toddler. Like how, the only way I can describe it, like how a dad might just kind of push a toddler by their backpack up the stairs. And that is kind of one of my favorite memories, because I was just like, he in that moment embodied all of my friends, like that had helped me, him, Kathy, Chris, yourself, everyone that had been involved. But he just embodied that. That was what everyone was doing, just rallying around me to just get me through this thing. So that is one of my favorite tour memories, is falling asleep standing up. I would love to see John do an interview about his music career and have somebody ask him, and what are some of your worst memories of collaborating? Well, there was this one time with this one musician who I literally had to carry back to her campsite because she was asleep. But yeah, that's mine.
That's very sweet. Of course, you're going to be back on tour, where the tour's already started, hasn't it, with Awake Mother?
Yeah, we were so fortunate to get offered like a support slot at the St Albans Folk Club, because they do like 20-minute rather than floor spots. They give like an opening artist 20 minutes to showcase before they then invite them back at a later date. And we were kind of so fortunate that that's been our opening gambit, because we were able to just go out and like dust off the dust a little bit and shake it out a little bit. And now we're getting really excited. So yeah, our first gig was going to be the 29th of April at Redbourne Folk Club, but we have also just last minute been added to Record Store Day in Watford. Ooh. Which is like amazing. It's run by this group like Sound of Watford and the LP Cafe in Watford. And I've gone many times as like a punter, and now we're going to be playing. It's like a whole day of music in like all different venues around the town, like in the cafe. I think they have some stuff in the street at the Mad Squirrel, down at the Pump House. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. That's on the 18th. So yeah, a fortnight away, and then we've just got loads of lovely gigs coming up. I'm really excited. I'm playing for the first time ever in the Isle of Wight. I've visited there before. I've never played a gig there, so that's absolutely buzzed. But yeah. We've got like 4 minutes left. Go, tell us about your touring stuff that you might have coming up. I mean, obviously you're heading back to Edinburgh this summer, I guess. But...
Back to Edinburgh, back to the place where dreams are made and broken. The Edinburgh Fringe. And that'll be fun.
Walk, sleep, standing up.
I mean, there's something lovely though, because I felt that in the past 2 weeks while we were working on this project. I was so tired some days, absolutely shattered. But then you're like, I'm delighted to be shattered doing something I love. Do you know what I mean? There's a real joy doing that, going, no, I'm tired because I'm doing something that means the world to me. And that's wonderful. And you know, when you're also not on your own, you know there's people there who will pick you up if you need be, or who will make you a tea if you want it, or push you while you're asleep. And so it's good to have that. And I think at LP Cafe, I'm sure I saw you there once, many years ago.
I played there a few times.
And that's a nice venue because it's just a record store, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love stuff like that. Like it's a record store or a bookshop, all these little things where it's just a sort of independent places that are run by people where they put gigs on. I've always think there's something magical about them because they're just like artistic hubs, and it's like nice to be gigging in them. So that'd be really lovely. So yes, people should go along to that. What day was it again? Let's tell them again.
Saturday the 18th of April. I believe that must be Record Store Day.
There we go. Everyone pop along.
They're queuing up to get your records. We are on later on in the day. I think they're announcing it all soon, but I've got a feeling we're more like 7 o'clock in the evening or something. But yeah, they'll be announcing it soon, I guess.
Lovely.
Lovely stuff.
Awesome. Shall we end it there?
4 more minutes. Shall we end it there?
Well,
do you have any parting thoughts?
I think touring is great. I really enjoy it. I love touring, even though it is stressful. I mean, we should also clarify. I think as an artist, you can romanticize it and say it's beautiful, but also there's other things that aren't good about it. Like travel can be bloody stressful and expensive. Accommodation can be tricky, especially if you're in a really horrible place. You know, I've had it before where you've booked it online and you turn up and it just doesn't exist, and you go, "Oh, okay." So,
okay.
Right, fair enough. So yeah, you know, don't expect touring to be all bread and roses, but there is just something magical about new audiences and seeing new places. You know, seeing or gigging in new places. Like I was really excited to gig in Belfast, and it was like I've never been to Belfast before, and it's really nice to go. Oh, I've been there now, and it's because I was doing a gig, and you know, I've been there and I've effectively made a bit of money. I've been paid to go there, which is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, not crazy money because I'm not Michael McIntyre, but at the same time, it's like, okay, they paid for my travel, and then I've earned enough to cover my accommodation and earn a bit of money, and I've seen the world while earning a bit of money, which is the dream, right? So I think that's part of the magic of it. What one final question? What is if there was one place in the world you could do a show that you've not done, where would it be?
Gosh, I'm not sure. And I've got only 3 seconds. I'll have to think and get back to you on next month's Waffle Toffle.
There's a cliffhanger. There's a cliffhanger ending. You have to come back next month.
Thanks if you tuned in. We appreciate you massively. We really do. Legends.
There we go.